Welcome to an episode of G Block's Go Deeper series. My name is Sheila. I'm the Community and Program Director here at G Block, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to our guest today, Varsha Morar. She is a human capital future of work strategist, business transformation leader, and organizational psychologist. She is passionate about influencing and supporting C-suite and senior leaders to deliver sustainable, future-fit transformation solutions that place humanness, innovation, and inclusion at the heart of the business. Welcome, Varsha. Thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot, Sheila. It's really wonderful to connect and engage with you. And I'd like to thank you, you particularly, to Richard Myers and the G Block community for offering me the opportunity to share my compelling story with you.
Wonderful. We're really glad to have you here. So let's start off with the first question. Tell us your why. What do you consider to be your purpose or your mission in the world? And what experiences in your life shape that?
Sure. Thanks. And so I'm a change influencer and an inspirer, Sheila. Like you've mentioned, a human capital future of work thought leader and advisor, and a registered organizational psychologist. But like I'd mentioned earlier, we are so much more than our titles. And so at the most core and fundamental human level, I am on a relentless mission and purpose to be able to make a sustainable impact by inspiring human and social consciousness that places innovation, humanness, and inclusion at the heart of the business. I work with C-suite as well as senior leaders in delivering transformative future fit solutions in this regard. And my leadership philosophy in bringing this purpose forward is really centered around encouraging these leaders at all levels of the business to embrace their own humanity, or the qualities that make them holistically human, to step into their real and authentic selves, and then to use this to galvanize their energy to trailblaze a movement through their vision. And you've asked about the experiences that could have shaped this. Apart from my deep training in the human behavioral sciences, my own revolutionary process of transformation on a personal, professional, and on a spiritual level, in seeking the holistic human within myself, and in pushing myself out of my comfort zone, in embracing different experiences and engaging with people who have different types of thinking and mindsets, has actually brought me towards shaping my purpose and my mission. And as I've mentioned to you earlier, my three key practices that are centrifugal towards this transformative processes that I've been experiencing, or that I'm on a journey towards, are firstly mindful meditation that I've been practicing for the last 18 years of my life. Secondly, the practice of hatha yoga and controlled breathing exercises. And thirdly, outdoor activities that push me out of my comfort zone and push me to my limits, both mentally and physically.
Oh, wonderful. And so what got you to meditation? Like, what was there, like a particular event, or just like, I'm curious about in your own personal experience, like what got you into meditation, but also largely speaking, discovering your own holistic human. I'm curious about like whether there was an inciting event or circumstance that drove you to that.
That's a great question, Sheila. I think for me, my meditative practices for the last 18 years are linked to a spiritual focus. But over and above that, and in seeking deeper meaning and purpose in my life, the benefits of the meditative practice that I've been on a journey towards has really functioned as such a foundational place where I've been able to center myself, as well as being able to keep a strong focus on everything else that I do. In terms of the experiences that have shaped that, I think there's various different milestones in my life. But I think I really began to pivot and to transform um, in the last 3 to 4 years, particularly post the COVID-19 pandemic. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the pandemic has been a wonderful opportunity for everyone in the world and all leaders in the world to be able to deeply reflect on what their true purpose and their true meaning is, both on an existential level and on a transformative level. And I think that that has been really revolutionary for me in helping me to reflect deeper and to look for a deeper sense of meaning.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And what is the one big idea you would like to imbue in the world and why? What do you hope will happen as a result?
And I think, Sheila, I think if you speak to any entrepreneur, they will share with you that big ideas don't just manifest out of fresh air. And I think it's only through the process of looking back in retrospect do we actually see the bigger picture and the journey where all the various dots actually connect in the most compelling manner to be able to lead us to this one big idea. And for me, that journey began um, during my studies in the deep human behavioral sciences, where I was exposed to the subject of eco-psychology. Eco-psychology is actually the interface between psychology and ecology, where we are looking at the holistic health of the planet and the ecology. Thereafter, once registering as an organizational psychologist, I then entered the business world. And thereafter, my next dot that connects to this big purpose or this big idea is then co-founding a detox and wellness center focused on holistic health. Thereafter, both in corporate and in consulting, I then led human capital future of work, strategy, business and culture transformation, people experience and employee value proposition, leadership development, and more importantly, recently, holistic health and well-being and diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is all of these various dots, Sheila, that then culminated towards my one big idea, which is that of the holistic human. The
Mm.
holistic human is an idea that I had coined, or I'd say introduced last year through my publication in an online publication called the Mail and Guardian. And it was entitled Accelerating the Rise of the Holistic Human as it related to the social component of ESG. And as you might be aware of, Sheila, a lot of the world is focused on the areas of ESG at the moment, relating to the environment, the climate issues, the social enterprise, as well as governance. And the idea of the holistic human is centered around the principle that change begins first at the individual human level before it can transcend through to the holistic health of various different stakeholders that we engage with. And that can include stakeholders like our family, the communities that we're engaged with, the organizations that we are part of, and most importantly, the affairs of the planet, the holistic health of the planet. So when I, as an individual or a holistically healthy human, connect with you, I'm bringing forward not just my physical health, but also my mental health, my spiritual health, my social health, the authentic human being within myself, the psychologically safe human being within myself, and the diverse, equitable, and inclusive human being.
Mm. That's a really powerful lens um to see people, right? Like it offers a new framework for us to first of all understand ourselves, but also when we meet others to understand others. So I'm really appreciative of that framework and that model that you that you've developed. um, so what are the ways in so and it's interesting, I'm curious how you could see, as I ask this question, how this connects back to this model you've developed. What are the ways in which you cultivate meaningful connections, and what do you hope will happen as a result of that?
That's a wonderful question, Sheila. For me, connections are meaningful when they are authentic. They are meaningful to me when they are real, when they are genuine, and when they are sincere. They are also meaningful to me when they are reciprocal. So reciprocity is very important to me. That sense of equal give and take in a connection or a relationship, and the relationship or connection not just being one-sided. So I make a concerted effort, an intentional effort to be able to reach out to people with these qualities in mind, but also people who have unique and diverse ways of seeing the world. Those
Mm.
individuals that push themselves out of their comfort zones, individuals that, are consistently having their finger on the pulse around new developments on the field.
Mm.
And I find that my idea around the holistic human connects or plays into that in two ways specifically. Firstly, I find that when I, as a holistic human, engage or recognize and acknowledge the holistic human in others, I find that it strengthens my relationships with them. So
Mm.
when I have the ability to then connect and recognize and identify the holistic human in them, meaning the physical human, the mental human, the spiritual human, the authentic human, the diverse, equitable, and inclusive human, the psychologically safe human, I find that people connect better with me, and that, there's a strengthening of that healthy, equitable relationship. That's on the first end. On the second level, I find that through our shared interests and alignment with my purpose and my mission, such connections nourish me in the most unique avenues for my idea, and they make it meaningful and impactful in the most sustainable manner.
Mm.
And that's how I find the concept of the holistic human playing into meaningful connections that I have with others around me.
Mm. Yeah, I really hear the importance of authenticity and reciprocity. And I think, especially around reciprocity, I think it's something we intentionally have to do because, or, or have intentionality behind it, because I think, especially in let's say dominant culture, we can get so caught up in ourselves, and
Yeah.
it's something I personally experience where I'm I'm usually like, I don't know if it's just me particularly, but my experience is I'm usually the I make a lot of effort to reach out to check in with people, and I notice that's not predominantly how how I experience others in the world. So in many ways, I find that in going first, I'm hoping to instill more of that culture of reciprocity. And when people ask me, like, how do I know so many people? It's because I put that effort in, and a lot of at least in my experience, not a lot of people think in that way. So I really appreciate that. And I think when it comes to authenticity, I think that's also incredibly important, because I think in many ways we are asked to compartmentalize ourselves, or we may go into people pleasing behavior. Who do I have to be to get this person to like me? But when we go into that space, it actually takes away from the connection, and people can feel that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really appreciate those lenses that you offered around that. Yeah. um so my next question is, what are the contributions you make in the world, and how does your big idea play into that? How do you see what your contribution being?
So, as a future of work, human capital, and organizational transformation leader, a lot of my work is focused on influencing leaders at all levels of the business to be able to think twice and even thrice about matters that are critical to the strategic objectives of the business, but also matters that are critical to placing holistic humanness, innovation, and inclusion at the heart of the business. And these principles, I consider them to be like a golden thread or a golden cord that runs through all of the various activities that I'm engaged with in my work. And whether that is involving supporting an organization or a business towards transforming its business and its ways of work towards the future of work, or whether that involves curating or delivering on a large-scale change intervention that is driving a compelling people experience and employee value proposition, or whether that involves, supporting an organization through their journey of inclusion, belonging, and diversity. I'm always considering these principles and weaving them like a golden thread throughout. The idea of the holistic human plays into this work as it keeps me focused on the holistic human being as the conduit to revolutionary change and transformation.
Mm. Thank you. I can appreciate the importance of especially when he's speaking about like the employee like value proposition. I can imagine that by creating a more inclusive work culture at every level, right? Like, how do we that you're facilitating more meaning for employees in whatever organization that they participate in, and having meaning really influences basically employee satisfaction and their mental health and their ability to then also fulfill all the other roles that they may play in their life. So that's really powerful. So what communities are you part of and why? How do they add value to your life?
So, Sheila, there's various communities that I'm connected with, or communities of practice, I would say. But for the purposes of this conversation, I'm going to highlight a few that are pretty meaningful at the moment. Firstly, I keep myself rooted within my professional capabilities. So connecting with communities of practice within the human capital future workspace is fundamental and pivotal towards keeping my finger on the pulse in terms of new developments in the field, as well as new trends that are emerging globally and more locally. Secondly, and I've spoken about this, it's connecting with my spiritual communities and my spiritual communities of practice, because that is the one thing that helps me to keep grounded. It helps me to center myself, and it helps me to keep focused. And so connecting with communities that have or practice the same practices around mindful meditation, yoga, and controlled breathing techniques, or outdoor activities that help me to push myself to my limits, is vital for me in terms of keeping myself grounded. And then more recently, Sheila, it's been connecting with communities in the ESG and sustainability spaces, as well as communities that are dealing with the climate and affairs of the environment and the planet, as that is deeply connecting to, how the holistic, healthy human can actually benefit or add value, to the various different stakeholders out there. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, it's critically important for me to keep my finger on the pulse with communities of practice that are industry specific. So whether that means in the energy, resources, and industrial space, or minerals, or mining, or manufacturing, or FMCG, industries, those help me to keep my pulse insofar as the unique challenges and the opportunities that those specific industries may be experiencing, and how is it that I could support or influence thinking in those spaces.
Though I really appreciate the diversity of communities you're in, and I think that's important because we do need to nurture all parts of ourselves. And I think you're
Yeah.
really demonstrating that in being part of so many different types of communities. So last question. If you were running G Block for a day, what would you do with the community and why?
So I think with G Block being a global network of socially conscious stakeholders that range from your C-suite to your solopreneurs, for me, it's such an incredible reservoir of rich thought leadership and insights that's sitting within this community. With its focus on shared interests and generating solutions through diversity of thought and ideas, I would encourage the group to identify, even if it's 3 to 5 wicked problems relating to leading the social enterprise, and then use this community to generate systemic solutions to be able to address these wicked problems through this diversity of thinking.
Mm. That
That's
I
probably
love,
one of
and that is something that we're working on. We hope to be launching some roundtables soon to do exactly that. So that so we're on the same page here. So to wrap up, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing about yourself and your work and offering some of your thought leadership to us and our community today.